Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into something darker than usual. This isn't just a story. It's the kind of road trip that whispers promises and delivers curses. Right now, the rain whispers against your window. The power hums low in the walls, and the streetlights outside look like distant, dying eyes. If you hear knocking behind you right now, or maybe the floorboards creak, just ignore it. It's probably nothing, unless you're driving alone out past Barstow. My name's not Jake, and this isn't Bakersfield, but the feeling of being $10,000 deep in debt to the wrong kind of people, that's universal. The pressure is heavy, thick, and it's why you're doing this, a late-night run, a risky shortcut. So, before you settle in, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you're brave enough to handle what's coming. Let me know in the comments where you are and what time it is right now. Now, turn off the lights, maybe keep one candle burning, and let's begin tonight's haunting together. You feel the knot in your stomach tight as the highway signs blur past, heading northeast out of what was once a familiar city. Let's call it Juniper Springs, and toward a distant Carson City equivalent. You're 32, not 35, and the construction accident that ruined your knee only accelerated the spiral that started long before. You thought driving freight would be simple. Asphalt, trees, a few road signs. But lately, every stretch of the highway feels like a test you're always failing. The debt, the gambling, it wasn't about winning. It was about believing you could still beat the rules. Tonight's load is nondescript. Something heavy, maybe engine parts, destined for a warehouse. Your company gave you the manifest and a suggested route, but you pulled out the old paper map you keep tucked in the glove box, just in case the tech fails. It showed an unappealing, but direct, line cutting through the mountains. Route 88 Spur, a name you'd never heard until tonight. You figure the quiet roads and zero traffic will let you shave off hours, maybe grab a few hours sleep before unloading. You tell yourself it's just another road. But looking at the map the night before, something felt wrong. The line wasn't straight. It curled sharply through a chunk of old forest. It looked like a hook, you remember thinking, meant to catch something. You shake off the thought. You're too deep in trouble for superstition. You take a long pull of lukewarm coffee. You pass scrubland and the occasional gas station, glowing like a faint lantern in the gathering dark. You remember learning in a psychology class that people experiencing high stress, like being chased or being deeply in debt, often report subtle perceptual distortions. Things like hearing their own name whispered or seeing shadows where there are none. Your brain is primed for fear, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's why the dry night air you let in through the cracked window doesn't feel refreshing. It feels heavy, like something is holding its breath outside the cab. You're a skeptic. You have to be, to deal with the kind of people you owe. But the sense of isolation is real. You keep one hand steady on the wheel, the other occasionally wiping condensation from the inside of the windshield. Each mile you travel feels like another thread snapping between you and the sane world. The stars above are sharper than usual, leaning in to watch. You realize the only company you have is the rhythmic thrum of the tires and the subtle creak of your seat. The road thins out completely, and now it's just blacktop and trees, your headlights punching a tunnel through the suffocating dark. The quiet presses into the cab, not a peaceful silence, but the kind of quiet where the world is listening. You check the time, around 10:30 p.m. The low fuel light flickers a nervous warning. You need to top off the tank and grab a real cup of coffee, something stronger than the sludge in your travel mug. You pull into the first place you see. It's barely a gas station. The sign is rusted, and the only word legible is service. At first, you think it's abandoned. A single light flickers weakly above the pump. The window is cracked, and weeds are growing right through the asphalt. But as you approach, you see the flicker of a tiny black and white television set inside, suggesting a quiet, stubborn sort of life. Inside, the place smells of old coffee and dust. There's one humming cooler and a counter that, by the look of it, hasn't seen a mop since the early 90s. Behind it sits an old man. His face is weathered like old leather, and he wears a trucker cap that might have once been red. He looks up from the TV when the door chimes, a surprisingly cheerful sound in the desolate scene. "Which way you headed?" he asks, his voice gravelly. "Carson City," you reply, trying to sound casual. "Taking Route 88 spur." His eyes narrow immediately. "Not after midnight, I hope." You let out a nervous laugh, trying to keep the atmosphere light. "Is that a curfew or something?" He doesn't smile, and the lack of humor sends a chill through you. That road's not right after dark. You hit the quarry bend and start climbing. You'll see what I mean. You pour yourself a coffee from a stained pot. You've heard of the vanishing hitchhiker, that classic piece of American folklore where a girl is picked up and disappears only for the driver to find her grave or house. Every backwoods road has its legend, you reason. "Let me guess, ghost stories." He reaches under the counter, pulls out a battered road atlas, not much younger than the counter itself. He flips it open and jabs a wrinkled finger at a thin gray line. "That stretch there used to be told back in the 50s. Guy named Granger ran it, made a killing charging folks to cross a public road. They say he wouldn't even let ambulances through without payment. One night, someone had enough and torched the booth with him inside. Let me guess again, he came back," you say, forcing a wry smirk. The man stares at you, his eyes flat and dark. He doesn't blink. People say he still collects. Only now he doesn't ask for coins. The easy, skeptical smile you tried to hold onto slips away. There is no teasing in his voice, no wink. Just the flat tone of someone reporting the weather or a plain, unchangeable fact. "What does he look like?" you ask, your voice barely a whisper. "Tall and thin. Wears the old uniform, burned up bad. You can still see where the flames caught him, scorch marks on the collar. Blood dried into the sleeves. Some say he's too tall for the booth now. Just stands there without moving. Watching," you tell yourself. It sounds like a Halloween setup. He agrees quietly. The only problem is no one's dressing up. You pay for the coffee, your hand trembling slightly. "Clock's ticking," he says as you walk out. "Past midnight. You better turn back if you hit that booth." The warning feels less like a threat and more like a final, urgent piece of advice. You realize you're already behind on your timeline. Back in the truck, you try to shake it off. Small-town creepiness, you tell yourself. The same way old fishermen swear by certain knots or sailors avoid whistling on deck, it's just superstition. A way to feel in control of things you can't be. You check the clock, 11:12 p.m. Plenty of time to clear the pass before the hour the old man named. You sip the scalding coffee, the flavor tasting strongly of metal and regret. The night air has a palpable weight to it, thick and quiet, like cotton wool muffling the world. The road ahead seems to stretch and thin, the sparse lights of civilization vanishing behind you. The feeling of isolation is intense, the kind that makes you question if you even saw the lights of the gas station, or if it was just a stress-induced hallucination. You've read about the Mandela effect, that phenomenon where large groups of people remember something that never actually happened, like the Berenstain Bears being spelled with an E. You wonder if this road, Route 88 Spur, is like that, something everyone in the valley thinks they know, but which doesn't exist anywhere real. Just as you're scoffing at the thought, your GPS flickers. The screen goes dark for a second, then lights up again. It's rerouted you. The new directions point you toward a smaller, unmarked side road with a simple green marker. Old Quarry Pass. You snatch the paper map from the glove box. You flip back and forth, tracing the route with your thumb. The turn is there, but it's just empty, uncolored space on the map. Not a line, not even a dashed service road. The paper is blank where the turn should be. That should have been enough to warn you, you think, remembering the old man's words. Yet the turn itself looks fine. Paved, clean, and perfectly black, just empty. You tap the GPS screen. It confirms the new route. ETA 12:10 a.m. 10 minutes past the hour. You mutter, better make up time, and turn the wheel. The truck rolls onto the pass, and the trees close in almost immediately. They lean over the road like silent watchers. Your brights can barely penetrate the darkness beyond the next curve. The pavement is unnervingly perfect. Too new, no cracks, no potholes, just a flawless black ribbon slicing through the hills. You turn the radio knob, desperate for a human voice or even static. But there is nothing but dead air. Even the engine sounds quieter than usual, as if the road itself is dampening the noise. Quiet is fine, you try to convince yourself, but your grip on the wheel is white-knuckled. Then you see it. It stands in the center of the road, a forgotten relic. A toll booth, wood frame, yellowed glass, and a faded, hand-painted sign that reads, "Stop, pay toll." It's anachronistic, wrong. It looks like it was dropped in from another time. You slam the brakes, slowing the truck to a crawl. Inside, you see someone, facing you. No movement, no sound. Just the outline of a person, a shape your brain doesn't want to stare at too long. And then, with a slow, hydraulic sigh, the barrier arm comes down across your path. You sit there, the truck idling, staring at the toll booth, trying to fit it into the frame of a logical, late-night drive. Maybe it's a leftover movie prop, or some weird roadside art installation, or maybe that Halloween setup the old man mentioned, never taken down. But the feeling that washes over you is a cold, absolute certainty. It's not fake. It feels wrong in a way that defies logic or easy explanation. The arm is solid, final, and it knows you're there. It's not letting you through. You reach over and flick on your high beams. The blinding glare hits the yellowed glass and catches the figure inside. He doesn't flinch. He just stands there, head tilted slightly, like he's listening to something far away. You roll down your window. "Hey, what's the toll?" Silence. No answer. You are not getting out of the truck. That is a rule you will not break. You throw the transmission into reverse and back up a few feet. considering your options. But the shoulders are narrow, hemmed in by thick, leaning trees and a steep drop to the right. No way around. Then you notice a sign, hand-painted red letters on warped white board. It is a command. Toll must be paid. And then you see the tray, a metal drawer like the kind you find at a bank drive-thru. It extends slowly toward you, squealing on unseen rollers. Empty, waiting, you stare at it, your mouth dry. "Look, man, I don't have cash," you say, your voice louder than you intended. The figure doesn't budge. The trees rustle on both sides, but there is no wind, just the sound of leaves moving as if something brushed them from within. You glance at the mirror, just blackness and branches. A surge of pure panic and defiant adrenaline hits you. This is wrong, very wrong, and you have to get out of here now. You think about the people you owe, the ones who don't take excuses. Maybe it's the gambler in you, the one who always thought he could beat the rules. But you make a decision. You drop the truck into gear. The tires squeal as you floor the accelerator and push through the barrier. The wooden arm cracks violently against the hood, snapping upward with a deafening sound and clattering into the trees. You drive straight through, your heart hammering against your ribs. In your rearview mirror, you see the booth shrinking, bathed in the pale light of your taillights. You drive for a mile before you let out the breath you'd been holding. Nothing follows. No sirens, no headlights. Just you and the empty road. You let out a laugh, shaky, nervous, but a laugh all the same. Your hands are still clutching the wheel like it might fly off. "Nice work," you say to yourself. You just got scared by a Halloween prop. You wonder about the Stockholm Syndrome, that psychological phenomenon where hostages begin to form an emotional bond with their captors. Or in this case, the thing that is trying to control you. Are you already trying to rationalize the impossible? The road curves left, then right, then begins to climb into the hills. You look for a sign, an exit, anything familiar. Nothing. You look at the GPS. It has frozen. The time is 12:01 a.m. The route displays a single blank word, unknown. The trees around the truck grow tighter, leaning in as if they are actively creeping inward. Your headlights, once so strong, seem weaker now, as if the surrounding darkness is a physical presence swallowing the light as quickly as you can push it forward. The silence is pressing, a psychological weapon that makes you feel profoundly, utterly alone. 10 minutes later, the truck sputters. You glance down, panicked. The fuel gauge is fine, but the battery light blinks once, then dies. The radio cuts out completely, filling the cab with deafening silence. Even the clock on the dash goes dark. The headlights dim, flicker wildly, and then, miraculously, steady again. You grip the wheel tighter, knowing you're running on borrowed time. Then, you hear a sound rising in the distance. It's not engine noise, and it's not the wind. It's a chime, high-pitched and sickeningly familiar. The precise ding of a toll bell, and then something brushes your leg. You look down, heart frozen in your chest. The tray. It is inside the cab, the same metal drawer from the booth. It has slid out from beneath the dashboard, even though there's no slot, no mechanism, no place for it to be. The tray is empty, waiting. You reach out to push it back, but it won't budge. It's locked in place, humming slightly with a low, unnatural vibration. The cab lights flicker. Then the windshield fogs instantly. as if someone has exhaled a cold, hard breath right against the glass. And in the center of the condensation, words begin to appear, drawn by an unseen, deliberate finger. One word, clear and terrible: pay. In a blind panic, you floor the accelerator. The tray slides back under the dash with a sharp, metallic clunk. The fog on the windshield vanishes instantly. The road ahead unrolls in a dizzying blur, trees racing past. But you don't feel like you're going anywhere. You glance at the mile markers. Mile 4, mile 5, and then mile 4 again. Your throat goes bone dry. You are stuck. You pull over, trying to get your bearings, trying to breathe, trying to remember the physics you learned in high school. You shut off the engine and listen. Silence. Then you hear them, footsteps, soft, scraping the pavement, getting closer. You slam the door locks down. The footsteps stop just behind the truck. You don't turn around, you don't dare. You throw the truck into drive and speed off again, pushing the engine harder than you should. The road unspools exactly the same. Same bends, same trees, and then, ahead, a faded billboard. It reads, "Thank you for visiting the ridge." You pass it. 5 minutes later, you pass it again. You pass it a third time. Each time, the letters seem a little more twisted, a little more decayed. You start checking the mirrors frantically, expecting to see the silhouette of the toll man there. You've heard of the legend of the Devil's Crossroads, where a person sacrifices their soul for fame or fortune. The road, you realize, isn't trapping you. It's waiting for you to make a deal. This psychological pressure is what creates the perfect conditions for the phenomenon known as sleep paralysis, where your mind is awake, but your body is not, leading to terrifying hallucinations. And then, just up ahead, the booth, same one, but now it is different. The booth is sharper now, closer, almost aggressively present. The lights inside burn brighter, a sickly yellow. The figure inside looks sharper, more real. The toll tray is already extended, waiting. You slam on the brakes. The truck skids to a stop, the tires screaming their protest on the flawless blacktop. You sit there, your chest heaving, listening to your own terrified breathing. He hasn't moved. You hadn't paid the initial toll, and now he doesn't want cash. He wants something else. You throw the truck into reverse and slam the gas, desperate to break the loop. The engine roars, the tires squeal, but you only make it about 20 feet before the lights flicker again, and the dashboard tray shoots out like before. This time there is something in it. Not cash, not a coin. It's your watch. The frayed leather band, the cracked glass, the scuffed casing, it's your father's old watch. You hadn't worn it in years, but you kept it in the glove box as a relic, or so you thought. You rip open the glove compartment. It's empty. The toll man took it from a place your mind thought was safe. You grab the watch from the tray. It is ice gold. The second hand spins wildly, a frantic blur, faster and faster, before stopping dead. The watch lets out a tiny mechanical click and shatters in your hands. The pieces drop back into the metal tray. The windshield fogs again, a sudden, blinding white. This time, the unseen finger scrawls something new. Clear, permanent, toll taken. You wipe the condensation away with your sleeve, your heart pounding a frantic, useless rhythm. The road ahead is still there. So is the booth. But now, the toll man is outside. He stands to the left of the booth, motionless, his arms hanging stiffly at his sides. His cap is pulled low, casting his face into a deep, impenetrable shadow. You catch only a glimpse of what's beneath the brim, skin that is burned and twisted, a geography of pain. He doesn't move. You throw the truck into drive and creep around him slowly, keeping one eye on the terrifying, motionless figure. For a while, nothing happens. The road unrolls endlessly, but the mile markers are glitching again. You pass the same broken guardrail 3 separate times. You pass a single, muddy children's shoe lying in the road. Later, a dented tricycle with one wheel slowly spinning. The temperature drops suddenly. You can see your breath condense in the cab. Then the truck begins to rattle, a heavy sound, like something is crawling across the roof. Bang, bang, bang. 3 knocks, precise, measured. You slam the brakes and step out, grabbing your flashlight. You scan the roof. Nothing. You circle the truck, empty road, silent trees. Even the engine is ticking softly as it cools. A low breeze cuts through the trees, carrying with it a scent you can't place, something metallic and scorched. You climb back in. The tray is back. This time, something else is missing. Your pinky fingernail, gone, no blood, no pain, just gone as if it was never there. You stare at your hand, the small, clean circle where the nail should be. You've heard of the ancient folk belief of the price of passage, where things of the body are used as currency, often hair or teeth. The toll man is enacting an ancient horror. "What do you want?" you shout, your voice cracking, echoing against the glass. The cab light flickers violently. The dead radio hisses to life for a split second. A garbled, distant voice comes through the static. Pay, then immediate silence. You start driving again, faster now, your headlights slicing desperately through the claustrophobic trees. Every turn looks the same. Every shadow feels alive. The trees press tighter, like they're herding you forward. The steering wheel trembles in your hands as if it were alive, fighting your direction. You pass a road sign that reads, "Debt must be settled," in standard highway font. You slam the brakes and look back. It's gone. The sign is just a delusion, a message planted directly into your panicked mind. The darkness starts pressing on the windows, dense and heavy, like a physical fog. You hear something whisper your name, not through the dead radio. Not just in your head. It comes from the backseat. You clench your jaw. You do not look. You do not speak. You just keep driving. Suddenly, a new light appears ahead. It's not the booth. It's a cabin. Small, 1-story, a porch light flickering weakly, offering a brief, shaky anchor in the madness. You slam the brakes and coast to a stop. You jump out and run up the steps, knocking furiously. Then you bang. "Hello, please, something's wrong. I need help." The door creaks open slowly. Inside stands an old woman. She's wrapped in a shawl, her eyes wide and knowing. "You didn't pay, did you?" she says, her voice dry as dust. "You know about this?" you ask, your breath coming in ragged gasps. She nods slowly. "He comes for those who take without giving." "What does he want?" you plead. Her gaze drops to your hand, the one missing the pinky nail, something you value. And if you don't offer it, he'll take what he likes. You look around the cabin, sparse, dusty. The air smells of cedar and mildew. A fireplace full of dead ash. A rocking chair worn down to splinters. This place is old. She points to the mantel. A faded photo sits there. Her, decades younger, smiling next to a man in a toll booth uniform. "That's him," you say, the recognition a painful punch to the gut. She nods again. My husband, Granger, he worked that booth for 40 years. Wasn't a bad man, just too proud. Wouldn't let an ambulance through one winter storm. The boy inside died. Someone lit the booth on fire with him inside. Now he thinks it's still his job, still collects. What do I do? She hands you something small, a token, rusted and round, but it has a strange, undeniable weight. It's not just stamped metal. The surface shimmers faintly, like something is burning just beneath it. On one side it reads, "One pass, no return." The other side bears an unfamiliar emblem, a road twisting and coiling into the shape of an eye. You mutter a nervous joke about antique collectors paying hundreds for less. You could, she says, but it wouldn't be yours anymore. That line sticks with you. You step out. You turn back to thank her. The cabin is gone. Behind you, only the endless black trees. Ahead of you, the booth. Brighter than ever, a beacon of pure dread. The toll man stands in the center of the road, waiting. And this time, you have something to give. You stand halfway between the truck and the booth, the token clutched in your hand. The rust has already flaked onto your palm. The words, "One pass, no return," feel heavier than they look. The toll man doesn't move, but something holds you back. It's the way he stares, unblinking, like he already knows what you'll try to give, like he's just waiting to see if you'll try to cheat him one last time. You turn the token over in your fingers. What is it worth? A chunk of corroded metal. No, it's more. The shimmer, the coiled road forming an eye, it's deliberate. You could pawn it, pay off half your debt in one sale. Get ahead for once. But the old woman said what you gave had to be yours. Not borrowed, not meaningless. This strange, powerful token given to you is not truly yours. What is yours? Your debt, your regret, your anger. But those aren't tangible. You don't want to give something real. The gambler's impulse wins. You quietly pocket the token. You reach into the glove box and pull out a handful of spare change. Quarters, dimes, tokens from truck stops. Meaningless metal. You drop the coins into the extended tray. They sit there, shining under the flickering light. The tray doesn't retract. Instead, it begins to shake. Slow at first, then faster. The coins rattle like loose teeth. The windshield fogs instantly. The words that carve themselves into the condensation are harsh, demanding, no cheating. The headlights shut off. The engine dies, sucking the remaining life from the truck. The temperature plummets instantly. You try the ignition, nothing. You are completely dead, utterly stuck. Your breath comes out in clouds. Frost edges across the inside of the windshield like icy veins. Then the dashboard screen flickers to life. Not GPS, not radio. Just a single word pulsing in pale yellow text. Pay. The screen buzzes with static, and for a second, the overwhelming smell of scorched hair fills the cab, sharp, oily, and unmistakable. You grip the wheel tighter, fighting the urge to vomit. This thing doesn't want excuses. It wants payment. The tray slams shut, sending the worthless coins flying and scattering. When it extends again, something new is inside. It's your wedding ring. The toll man is a creature of deep psychological horror, a mirror reflecting your failures. You've heard of how people in extreme situations, like being lost in the desert, can experience fata morgana, complex, stable mirages. You wonder if this entire night is just your mind processing the shame of your financial and marital ruin. You stare at the ring. You hadn't worn it in years. Your ex-wife mailed it back in a padded envelope after the divorce. It was buried in a sock drawer. But there it is, sitting in the metal tray as if it had been waiting its turn for years. The toll man's head tilts slightly, like a curious animal. The shadows conceal most of his face, but you see the texture of the visible skin, scarred, blistered, not alive. You didn't put the ring in the truck. You didn't have to. The toll man is not interested in your physical possessions. He's interested in value and regret. You take the ring. It's cold, heavier than you remember. A memory hits you sharp and clear. Your ex-wife's voice the night she left. You always pick the road that looks easy, she said. And here you are, staring down a toll you didn't want to pay. All those years, you avoided the hard choices. You left things unresolved. You let people go because it was easier than changing. Cheating the toll, the debt, the marriage, the responsibility felt like second nature. But here, now, there is no bluffing. You close your eyes and slide the ring back into the tray. It's a final, painful admission of failure. The ring disappears. The tray retracts silently. The lights above the booth flare, then dim. The toll man doesn't move. The dashboard lights up again. A single word blinks in pale yellow text, almost. A low sound vibrates through the cab, not an engine, not the wind, a groan like a heavy, unseen door opening beneath the earth. Then the booth's arm begins to rise, slowly, creaking like a coffin lid. You don't wait for it to clear. You throw the truck into gear and drive through. The trees swallow the truck instantly. Behind you, the light from the booth flickers once. Then it vanishes completely. The trees tighten, like a throat squeezing around the road. You grip the wheel, your foot trembling on the gas pedal. The truck rumbles forward, but everything outside looks wrong. Too quiet, too still, as if the world has stopped rotating. You check the rearview mirror, half expecting to see that burned figure step out of the blackness. Nothing. No booth, no lights, no toll man. And yet, the sense of him hasn't left. It clings to you like the brutal cold, unseen but pressing. The dashboard screen pulses softly, bathing the cab in that pale yellow glow. One word blinks over and over, almost. You drive because it's the only thing you know to do. Stopping feels worse. You follow the endless road as it twists through the night, past trees that grow sparse and brittle. Their limbs stretch like skeletal arms, scratching at the air. The GPS is still frozen. The clock on the dash flashes gibberish. You are driving through the equivalent of a thin place, a concept in Celtic mythology, where the veil between this world and the other world is incredibly fragile. The toll man is trying to take a final toll, the price of escaping this liminal space. Around you, the scenery is beginning to rot. The environment is decaying, collapsing. Stone walls and collapsed fencing line the roadside, old mile markers broken and toppled. You pass rusted signs eaten away by time, their messages utterly lost. This is a place where things go to be forgotten. Then, just ahead, a glow. Another light, soft and gray. It is definitely not the booth. It is a barn, slumped and weathered, sitting crookedly beside the road like an old man resting his last mile. The truck sputters and slows on its own, rolling gently to a complete stop in front of the structure. The toll man is guiding you, you realize. You step out, every nerve stretched taut, waiting for the 3 measured knocks to begin again. Before you even reach for the door, the barn door creaks open slowly. Your flashlight beam cuts through the dark interior. It reveals rows of forgotten toll equipment. Metal signs, broken lights, and old coin trays. They are scattered and rusted, like the ghosts of a highway long gone. This is the toll man's hoard, the place he keeps the forgotten relics of his long, twisted tenure. At the far end, something is waiting. A second booth. It looks older than anything you've seen tonight. No windows, no roof light, just wood and metal warped by time. It feels less like a structure and more like something that has grown there. As you step closer, the tray slides out. The sound is wrong. It doesn't creak or squeal, it scrapes, slow and steady, like it has done this forever, grinding against the deep silence. It is empty, waiting. You reach for the token the old woman gave you. You hold it in your hand for a long time. It looks different now. Darker, warped around the edges. You turn it over, but the words are gone. Just a blank circle, like it has forgotten its own purpose. The token of one pass. No return is now just metal. You set it in the tray. Nothing happens. The toll man demands your value, not a borrowed one. You empty your pockets, your wallet, your keys, your father's old lighter. Still nothing. The tray sits still, utterly unimpressed. You look down at the last thing you have, your watch, the one you thought you shattered in the previous exchange. It is running again, ticking steady. You remember the last time it ticked like this. The sterile white of the hospital room. Your dad asleep beside you. You never wore it again after that day. It was too painful, too real a memory. This is the psychological phenomenon known as emotional transference, where a person unconsciously redirects feelings from one person or object to another. You've transferred all your unresolved grief and guilt onto this watch. This is the price. You take it off. As you place it in the tray, a cold breath passes through the booth. The tray doesn't retract. It sinks slowly, as if it's being pulled into something deeper than the box could hold. And then it is gone. No sound, no shift, just absence. You stand there in the dark, cavernous barn, watching the empty space where the tray sank. You wait for a voice, a message, the final almost. But there is nothing. No voice, no message, just the vast, heavy silence of the night. Then, the barn doors creak open behind you. The sound of crickets fills the space, not the oppressive quiet of the dead road, but the familiar, vibrant sound of the real world. The road is open again. You drive. The tires hum on the road like a lullaby you hadn't heard in years. You don't touch the radio. You don't need to. The silence is finally just silence. Not a threat, not a warning, just empty air. The road ahead unspools like clean, freshly laid ribbon. You follow its curves, waiting for the next horror to rise from the shadows. But the shadows hold still. No booth, no mask, no tray. The trees thin and the darkness begins to lift. The blackness gives way to fences. Street signs begin to look familiar, not twisted or corrupted, but normal, real. One of them reads, Carson City, 18 miles. You feel a tight, desperate knot in your throat loosen, and you almost cry when you see it. Your phone buzzes in the cup holder. It lights up with a signal for the first time in hours. Messages load. The GPS map blinks alive, showing a clear, unambiguous route. You pull over just to stare at the screen to make sure it's real. It is. Back on the road, the world feels sharper. cleaner, the tension that had crushed your ribs for miles begins to lift, like a physical weight being removed. You breathe deeply, letting the crisp, light air fill your lungs. The weight pressing down on your shoulders has finally slipped away. The toll man wasn't just collecting physical payment. He was collecting emotional debt, forcing you to give up the things that tied you to your past failures, the debt itself, the failed marriage, the ring, and the unresolved grief, the watch. And then, just before the city limits, you see it, the booth. It isn't on the road. It's off to the side in a field, half sunk in the dirt like a relic from a forgotten time. Cracked glass, sagging roof, and beside it, a wooden post with the faded sign. Thank you for visiting the ridge. It is dead, just a husk. Vines have begun to grow around the corners. Grass pushes up through the floorboards. The tray is rusted in place, unmoving. A scrap of charred fabric lies inside, maybe part of his uniform, still faintly smoking. You drive past it without slowing down. The haunting is over. You make the delivery just after 1:30 a.m. The warehouse foreman barely looks at you, signing the form with a tired grunt before vanishing into the brightly lit, blessedly real building. You don't care about the grunt, the tired eyes, or the lack of conversation. You got the job done. You get back in the truck and just sit there, your fingers still wrapped tight around the steering wheel. The dashboard is quiet. The ominous tray beneath it is gone. Gone like it had never been there. You stare at your hands. The pinky nail is still missing. It is the only physical evidence you have of the journey, the scar left by the toll man. You drive home the next morning. You sleep a full, dreamless day, a kind of sleep you haven't experienced in years. When you wake up, the first thing you do is call the guy you owe. You don't make an excuse. You don't ask for an extension. You simply tell him you'll have his money within the week. You pick up 2 extra routes, both far from the mountains. You don't care where they send you, as long as the roads are well lit and the names are ones you know. You stop playing cards. You cancel the online bets. You give away the poker set you'd kept hidden under the bed. The urge to beat the system, to chase the fix, is gone. You paid that toll. You never saw the old man at the gas station again. The place was boarded up when you passed a week later. Dust on the pump. A chain across the doors. It looked like it had been closed for years. The entire interaction, the warning, the old atlas, the story of Granger, might have been a fabrication conjured by the road itself. The toll man's power, you realize, was in convincing you to pay a price that was due. He was a relentless debt collector, spiritual and material. The debt collector or toll man figure appears in numerous cultures, often as a creature that forces people to reconcile their moral and financial obligations before passing on. Sometimes, when you drive late and the night is just a little too quiet, you glance at the rear view. Every now and then, just for a second, you think you see a flicker of light in the trees, just movement like someone standing still, cap low, watching. But it never lasts. You won't stop. You don't look back. And you never take shortcuts anymore. The long way is the safe way, and you've learned to appreciate the cost of what is easy. The pressure in your chest is gone. The heavy, desperate feeling of being in deep. You paid the man who ran the booth in the woods, and in doing so, you paid the price for the easy road, the price of your own evasion. You've settled your internal books, and the outside world, by extension, has settled its own. You're free from the crushing weight of the $10,000 debt, and more importantly, free from the cycle of self-sabotage that created it. The air is clearer now, the headlights stronger, and the road ahead is a real, tangible place, leading to a real, tangible destination. The scars you carry are internal, the memory of the scorched smell, the feeling of the toll tray appearing from nowhere, the final, agonizing sacrifice of your father's watch. But the small, clean circle where your pinky nail used to be is the final, irrefutable proof that it all happened. You breathe deep, smelling only the clean scent of diesel and road asphalt. The rhythmic thrum of the tires is no longer a warning. It's just the sound of a truck doing its job. You're done with the whispers and the shadows. You've found the long road and you're taking it. The silence now is not a predator, it's a blanket. End of script. Sleep peacefully if you can. End of script. Sleep peacefully if you can.